Hello everyone, this is Professor Reha back with episode 4 of the SMITE Conquest Khepri tutorial. I will be covering some other modes. I just wanted to start this a little early to make two announcements. First off, I will not be doing an assault version because obviously you can't pick specifically what guide you're going to be in assaults. That's just not going to be an option. Second, I very carefully re-examined my gameplay from last game. I rewatched my recording, and it occurred to me that the reason why I was so aggressive in the last match is Janus. I consistently was too aggressive when Janus was present, so this is definitely a me problem. I apparently get really aggressive with Janus's, which is strange, but okay. But that, I suspect, is the reason why I was so aggressive at those particular points, because every time I was aggressive, Janus was involved, and I think I was just desperate to kill Janus, or at least set him up for a kill. One or the other, it depended on the situation. Alright, so far we have a pretty good team comp here. I really like this. We've got nice 3 physical, which you want, like I mentioned last time. We have 2 hunters on the enemy team, so one of those hunters is likely to be their jungle or solo. It's tough to tell which. I'm gonna guess solo. If they're really aware, the Chiron is their solo lane, Mulan is their jungle, Xbal is their ADC, Geb is their support, and Nuwa is their mid. If I was going to guess based upon what I would describe as common sense choices, Mulan does really well as a jungler just as she does as a solo. Chiron does a pretty good job in the solo lane if you're smart about your play with him. I mean, he does have a nice self-heal automatically built into his kit. It's completely free, giving him an interesting advantage in the solo lane that not a lot of even warriors necessarily have. Of course, versus Chaac, that's a bad matchup. Heck, even Mulan versus Chaac is not the best matchup that you'll ever see. So I think Chaac has this in the bag either way. I think that's a fantastic matchup for my boy Chaac there. And let me see. I'm trying to decide. Well, Geb is going to be a problem, because if I try to abduct someone, Geb can save them with just his shield, which also puts them in a strong position to resist any kind of problem with a root afterwards. I may have to try to bait out a shield with my root, and then see where I can go from there. But that's overall fine. Besides that, we seem to be... it'll be interesting to see. If Mulan is the enemy jungler, the Hun bots might have a problem. Okay, each side is... Okay, we're just missing Anubis. Alright, what I didn't talk about, though, was whether or not I would need... There's Anubis. Mulan is missing. Whether or not I would need Tainted Steel. Offhand, I would have to say no, so we're going to go with Sentinel's Gift here. And let me see, physical first. We're going to go into Jade Emperor's Crown for the extra physical protection. We get decent health towards the end there. Shell, of course. This, and let me see. We'll go Hand of the Gods. And, yeah, I think health potions would be the smart move. So, essentially speaking, the reason why I didn't go with Tainted Steel is because I don't think they're necessarily going to have enough healing present to justify doubling up on anti-heal. So that's basically why. Yeah, he's really not going to need that. Oh, I see what you're going to do. That's an interesting play. That's smart. That's pretty inventive use. Okay. He's put down the other crystal. There he is. I did not use Hog specifically because I knew he'd be here so fast that to use Hog would be a waste. I can use it on the mid-Harpy. Give us a slight advantage in that timing there. Okay, good. The minions wandered in. That's Chiron as the ADC, so I'm somewhat curious about what their jungler is. is their jungler? I really want to know. By the way, the only reason we lost that initial wave hit was because Heimdall chose the crystal first, so he didn't have the wave clear, the level 1 wave clear that Chiron did, so that's why, but it's okay. It bounced out quite nicely because he does have a certain amount of AoE on his autos, so I'm not that concerned about it. Overall, I think his strategy there was pretty strong. I think that's a cool idea. It's not something I've seen before. The fact that we got, okay, it's Mulan as jungle. Interesting. And Xbal solo, huh? So that's a bad matchup for Xbal. He'll probably have an easier time in the early game, but once Chalk really gets rolling, Chalk is just going to curb stomp that Xbal in all honesty, because his rain is going to decrease Xbal's attack speed, which is exactly what Xbal doesn't want. So once Chalk hits maybe level 5, I think, because Xbal's ult is fairly useless for actual direct combat, then I think Chalk is just going to hands down win. I missed that? Alright. Good play, good play. I waited too long to go back, or to retreat. It's not necessarily so much that I was too aggressive. We're going to sell this, actually. It's not so much that I was too aggressive there. The problem was actually, foundationally, that I stayed in too long. Is the issue there. What is he building? Okay, nothing particularly special. I just was not paying enough attention to my health. They're going to try to take the Void, obviously. He's level 3, so maybe we can do something with this. That's a good question. Oh, my goodness, they healed so much from his passive. Okay.
Just keep and watch.
There we go. Alright. Ah.
No funny business.
Someone's feeling competitive. Shield? Yeah. I figured. We'll dance for dominance. Oh, I missed. That was bad. We'll be fine, but unless he's got ult, he does. Okay. Fairly predictable, though. Let me see. Yeah, we're going to be behind. It's about the best I can do. Alright. Nice. Good.
Just keep and watch.
And then we can probably clear this. I'm going to throw down some wards. Okay, good. I have my ult. I'm not that far behind Geb. I'm probably like half a level. How much gold am I behind? 400, so it's not that bad. Very recoverable. The fact that they haven't returned somewhat alarms me. There's Chiron, but where's Geb? Heimdall does not have his completed gauntlet yet, but does Chiron? Chiron does. Okay. Geb is in mid. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure Anubis is dead. Yeah. At least we got Totem, but... not sure why he bothered with that. Yeah, I know you do that, but gives him time to get out. Where'd you go? Oh, you went pretty deep. Get out of here. That's right, punk. You are not getting my boy Hunbats here. Alright, so that was a successful save. Did I need to ult him? I'm not 100% sure. The Geb was definitely going to dive, so maybe I should have waited a little bit on that ult. But I can't guarantee that I would have been able to ult him in time anyways. It's a bit finicky. I'm still moving too fast. I was wondering if he'd stop his dash in time for me to root him, but that did not happen. Unfortunately. But that is okay. Well, I can go back and get my crown. This is the time. This is the time. I picked up my assist credits. I can go back. This wave has been pushed up nicely. Okay. Now we return. Now I'm going to have to build the movement boots again because otherwise Geb will just out-rotate me every time and I can't afford to let that happen. I'm already slightly behind. Like I said, I'm roughly half a level behind, probably, in terms of experience. And still probably 400 or so gold behind. About 500, yeah. It's fine. Hi. I know for a fact Mulan is heading to the right. Come on, Nubis, you gotta kill these guys. I'm gonna go see if I can make this rotation work. No, he doesn't need me. He doesn't need me. He's fine. He played that smart. They played that smart. Good job. Solarian. Oh, she almost stood still long enough in that area. She backed up quite nicely. You're going back? Why? Oh, to finish your shoes. Okay. The cooldown shoes, which is an interesting choice. Not bad. It's not a bad choice. But it is a bit interesting. I need to go see if I can save on bots. Probably not. Yeah. I'm gonna go see if I can help Chalk out, because there's obviously some kind of strange flood going on here. Yeah, I don't need to be here. They're playing pretty aggressively due to just the simple presence of Geb. I'm too far away. I'm too far away. The range on this is so short. Darn it. I still would have been able to get to him because that plant there. That's why I need the speed shoes. If I had the faster boots, I would have been able to make that. The problem I'm having right now is that Geb is able to massively out-rotate me. Just because his role, so to speak, makes him go faster than what I'm capable of. I don't have enough money for the shoes yet, so... I'm just gonna wait for the assist credit. I get extra gold for it because of Sentinel's gift. I mean, he tried. Who blinked? Oh, and busted. I didn't think I would die from that, to be honest. I thought I would make it. Just she have pen, or was it just... Okay, she's got Charon's coin. That's slightly why, but I was kind of hoping... Well, I kind of figured, I'll be honest, I wasn't even hoping. I kind of expected to survive with just a little bit of HP left. Although they did pick her up, which is fine in the end, so that actually works out quite well. We're going to build more wards. We need wards. The Geb is playing extremely aggressively. I will build more health potions here, just to give myself a little bit more time out in the field. I have plenty of MP5 at this point, thanks to my various shoes, and thanks to my speed boots and my Sentinel's gift. I have plenty of MP5, so I'm not really worried about that. Chalk is only losing because he's been ganked 12 times, because they understand that that matchup is bad, so good on the enemy team for recognizing that fact. We're going to put down some defensive wards. It's not your fault, Endo. It's not its fault in particular. He has beads. For shame. Oh, I picked that up. Go, my chum. Oh, he backed right there? Okay. Nope, we're good. She tried.
Destroy them. Take no prisoners.
Oh, Mulan is here. Yeah, that's gonna kill me. I should not have been there. I got aggressive again. It's a bad habit I need to break. We're gonna go into Pestilence, and then we're gonna finish up with nice Sovereignty. Give my allies an even bigger boost on the physical protections here. That'll really cover pretty much all of my bases in terms of physical protections. I'm trying to decide, it might be worth going into a second magic protection item, and then go into Witchblade, because Witchblade would be very effective in this scenario. They have a lot of auto attack focus. They have Chiron and Sheep Blanque, obviously. Nuwa has decent auto attacks, with the potential to root, obviously, so she's going to want to use those at least some of the time. And then we have Mulan, who actually can hit pretty hard with her auto attacks, if you let her do so. She has an attack speed buff built into her kit, so it's not like she can't effectively employ some auto attack strats here. Is she actually building for that, though? She's not specifically building either ability or auto attacks. Yes, she has Jotun's Wrath for the fairly obvious we are not pushing this. Oh, okay. That was weird. I have absolutely no idea. No, we're gonna keep the defensive wards here. I don't have a problem with that. I'm gonna go past the Geb right about now, though. Well, not in gold, but in experience, yes. Which early on, the experience is worth a little bit more. Yeah, I think. Do you have a crystal up? I got her. Nope, not today. There you go. Okay. I don't want to dive that. Oh, I guess we're diving this. What the heck? That was good. Look, don't tank this. I will tank this. I will tank this. This is fine. There we go. I couldn't tank that any longer. Well, I probably could have taken one more shot, but I wasn't going to risk that with Nuwa around. That just is not a safe idea. Okay, we're recovering slowly. good. I think the main reason we won that fight was because I don't think anyone was expecting our whole team to commit on that, which is a little interesting. I personally wasn't expecting us to full commit. No, we can attack this. Oh, you want to attack this? Alright. No, come. What are you doing? My goodness. Oh, I already have a ward down there. I don't need to be here. So close. That was a good play. He walked directly into her little lance there. That was good. He played that pretty smart. I don't really know what's going on over here, but I'm trying to keep everyone alive over here. Is he gonna go back safely? Yeah. We should be okay here. Yep. And then we have... Good play, good play. That was interesting. I'm gonna die. Yeah. That's okay, as long as they... Oh, is that a rage quit? She Blanca goes back. Considering he hasn't died once, I'm doubting it's a rage quit. I think probably it's a connection issue. Based on what we've seen so far anyways. Actually, at this point, I should probably buy a Sentry Ward. So, I have Pestilence now. Now I'm going to work for Sovereignty. And then, let me see, I'll have Sentinel's Gift, 2 more slots. Do I really need Witchblade, or do I want to go into some kind of self-HP increase? They have a whole lot of different methods to trigger Stone of Gaia, so Stone of Gaia might be a really good pickup at this point instead. Or I could just hyper-specialize. I could still build Witchblade. I could build Witchblade now instead of Sovereignty, but I do want Sovereignty as well. I may sell Jade Emperor's Crown in favor of Sovereignty, though. That extremely spicy blink ult. Holy cow. Let me body block for you. I'm getting no notifications. I'm about to disconnect. There's a problem here. I'm getting absolutely no... Wait, hold on. The game is playing normally, but we're not getting any notifications for what's happening, because I got the kill by accident. I can see it in the bottom left, but the notifications have died. It'll probably be an immediate disconnect once the match ends. We got that notification, though. I don't need to be standing here with the minions, so this is fine. Hold on for it. We need to go back. No, we need to retreat. We need to get out of here. I don't have the resources for this. They fight? Alright. Yeah, get out of there. I'm gonna see if I can... Yes, alright, we're fine. Do I need... No, I don't really need to do anything else right now, so I'm gonna go back and pick up the... It's a tough question. We'll go for the, Stone of Gaia at the moment. Get Sovereignty afterwards, and then probably Witchblade. Oh, I could just replace the Jade Crown. I mean, 20 power less is not a huge deal. Yeah, I might just sell, we'll go with Stone of Gaia, go into Witchblade, sell Lotus Crown, go into Sovereignty. Because Lotus Crown is honestly not that great at the late game. It's kind of useless at late game. There we go. And then go into sell the shoes for some form of, I don't know, magic protection? Some mild form of magic protection? Or not? I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do to replace the shoes. I have a general idea of where I want to go with my build, but... Okay, but can we kill my boy here first? Nice play.
No prisoners.
That's how you do it. Oh, she ulted. That was a good ult. Good timing on that. Oh, she's right there. Okay.
I thought there'd be a slow blow at the end.
Nice. Nice. I can probably tank this. This shouldn't be too big of a problem. I can always regenerate myself with my ult if I need to. We should be all set here. I mean, she tried. She straight ulted just to get out of that. Fair enough. I respect it. It was a smart move. Yeah, you want Hun bots? You're gonna have to fight a little harder for that. We're not gonna catch up to him. He's out. I've played Geb enough to know that he was just out of there at that point. I'm gonna try to watch what Mulan does and try to counterattack. I'm gonna buff my boy here. I don't think this is a good idea. He's gonna die. Yeah. We need to get out. We need to get out. They're not getting out of there. I mean, we've got all the phoenixes, so that's nice and all, but I missed her. I couldn't see enough, there was too much going on. I guess I'll take you with me. It'll kill me, but I'm okay with that. Alright, so my next move is Witchblade. I'm impressed he's gonna make it. I mean, he still might not, but it looks pretty good. Why did he... Alright, so there's Sheep Blanca again. This this chalk is insane. What is this? I mean, I'm impressed, honestly. He got out. He did successfully escape the grasp of the enemy. So that was fairly nice. I do need to be saving up for Witchblade, though. I'm not going to take the speed. Inbots can take that. I'm just going to split with Chalk up here. Here we go. Oop. There we go. And pick up Witchblade. Absolutely slapping tune. Nice. One of the cool things about Anubis is the fact that he can solo pretty much whatever he wants if he's built correctly. Boy, is he built correctly. Nice. We're having a bit of a tiff in left lane. Never mind. Chiron's in right. I'm grouped. Where do you want to go? Where do you want me? Almost got her. Oh. Yeah, that's fair. We probably could have finished if we really wanted to there. We're all level 20 except for me, which is the way it should be. Only 2 of them are level 20. It's a pretty big difference. But I suppose this just is insurance, I suppose you could describe it. No. Okay. That was a good counter ult by Hunbots. That was beautifully timed, too. You do not get out of here. Oh, so close. Boy, the fireman's really been doing work here. Zoinks. Looks like I won't need to, yeah, I didn't even need to sell the, Jade Lotus Crown. Okay, that went really well. It was a nice, and it was a little bit quicker than normal. That was a 26-minute match. Normally, conquests last at least half an hour, so that was a bit quicker than normal. So let's talk about how the match went, what specifically happened, why our early game was trash, and etc. Now, for at least the duo lane, the reason why we had such a hard time in the early game was Heimdall did not get his wave clear ability at level 1. He got the crystal. Now, I understand why, and it turned out okay, so that's really a preference, a gameplay preference there, and neither way is particularly wrong or right. As for Heimdall's build, what I found interesting, and I didn't mention this at the time because I was focusing on other things, is when Heimdall realized that we were behind, Solarian rushed the shoes not to devour his gauntlet. Why? The reason why is because we were a little behind, not so far behind that it was, a major restructuring of the build was required, but we were far enough behind where purchasing the shoes first gave Solarian the boost they needed in the short term to compete with the slightly ahead Chiron in lane until Solarian could actually finish the Devourer's Gauntlet. Now, this did put Heimdall behind in stacks, but stacks are really for the long term anyways, so Heimdall was able to compete pretty decently well with Chiron for the most part. Now, obviously, my issue was, until I was able to get my hands on my Traveler's shoes, I was having a really rough time keeping up with Geb. There are two reasons for this. First off, you'll notice that he went to shoes first. He rushed his shoes. And second, of course, he has the rollout, which increases his movement speed over the course of the use of that ability. So there was no way I was going to catch up to him until I had Travelers. So once I got Travelers, you will notice that then I was able to be where I needed to be, for the most part. There was a point in the middle there where Anubis died in the early game because I didn't have my Traveler's shoes yet. As for the Anubis build, this is very strong. I do kind of fear that with Bancroft's Talon, with low levels of health, that perhaps Anubis was overcapping on lifesteal, but it doesn't really make a huge difference here. Now, obviously, because of Anubis' passive increasing the amount of lifesteal he's gaining from his items, this is why Bancroft's was rushed. It's a very effective strat with Anubis to rush Bancroft's. And I do really appreciate the addition of the Spirit of Magus, which is absolutely insane on Anubis right now. And really, with Spirit of Magus, not only are you increasing the damage that marked enemy gods are taking, but since all of Anubis' abilities are multi-hit, except for his stun, obviously, then this means that after the first hit of any ability, all the rest of them are doing 7.5% increased damage, which is fairly substantial. Especially if Anubis is able to slap down a Grasp of the Dead and then stack another ability on top of that, be it his ult or his Locust Breath, one of the two. This can really lay on some pretty substantial amounts of damage. By the way, if you heard a noise there, I'm sorry, I just accidentally selected my mic. The Soul Gem I find fairly interesting. I'm pretty sure that this was built just for the cooldown and a little bit of extra lifesteal. The heal is nice, but considering how much Anubis gets back in lifesteal, I'm doubting this was the reason why. I think this was just a combination of looking for a little bit more power, a little bit more lifesteal, and some cooldown reduction. And of course, the Pendulum of Ages for the cooldown. Quite obviously, utilizing, and this was actually a really good choice. Now, essentially, Alfonso Esquire had a choice between Pendulum of Ages for 20% cooldown or Kronos' Pendant for 20% cooldown, plus a passive that reduces that even further. The reason why Pendulum of Ages is the smarter choice here, besides, nice NP5, is that with the increased mana sources from both Typhon's Fang and Bancroft's Talon, the Pendulum of Ages is going to provide a bit more magical power than normally one would find without. And I don't know what Alfonso's last item was going to be. I would have been really interested to see, but the Shoes of Focus obviously contribute to the Pendulum of Ages as well. This probably would have been, gosh, that could have been anything. Book of the Dead would have been a cool pickup there, just to keep you alive longer, get even more mana in there, more power. Could have been Pythagram's piece for the penetration, maybe? Who knows? I would have really loved to have seen what Anubis was going to pick up here, but this was a really well built, both of these two built really well. I really like the Executioner. It's just a fantastic item. You can see pretty much everyone buying it. Went right into crits, actually, after Executioner. Now, building crits on Heimdall is risky, because Heimdall's crits don't do as much damage as other people's, but to compensate, Solarian built Ornate Bow for just straight-up extra crit chance. Better attack speed. It's a pretty good move here. The Chalk, let me see. Heroes X, yep, that's fine. Shoes, Witchblade was a smart pickup. That was a good pickup, considering that their opponent was Xbal. That's fine. Glad Shield, great pickup. Great pickup. I would have given at least some thought to Midgardian Mail, but I understand that Chalk needs to also be doing a certain amount of damage anyway, so Glad Shield is really an excellent pick. Talisman of Energy. This, I know a lot of people buy this, and I know it's very strong. I understand this. I'm not sure Chalk needed this. I think potentially Chalk could have benefited from Genji's Guard, or possibly the other one there. The one that provides percentage damage reduction based on how many enemies are around you. I think perhaps Chalk would have done a little bit better. Now, again, this also somewhat depends on how the Chalk is being played. It's not like Chalk as a character cannot use that attack speed, movement speed. He can. So this might be a specific strategy in mind to kind of balance out the abilities with some auto attacks. Of course, Breastplate of Valor is always a good time on Chalk. Overall, a strong build. I would have preferred to see a little bit more magic protection, but again, that's personal preference. And possibly the Chalk was planning on selling Warrior Tabi for maybe Ansley or Runic Shield. I don't know. So I'm not even going to necessarily say I would have preferred to see more magic protection, because it might have been next, for all we know. The Hunbots. The Transcendence third item is very interesting. This is primarily why Hunbots had a bit of difficulty, you'll notice, in the shift from the early to the mid-game, is because at the time Hunbots was still building Transcendence, which is fine. It paid dividends at the end. Hunbots was absolutely slapping, and that's what Transcendence does. Transcendence, when you build Transcendence as a jungler, I know a lot of people don't like it, but it can work. And when you are thinking to yourself as a jungler, do I want Transcendence? You're asking the wrong question. You need to ask yourself, do I feel lucky, punk? Because building Transcendence as a jungler specifically is a gamble. A gamble that your team will be able to play well enough in future that you can build your stacks pretty quickly. Junglers rely very heavily on their allies to maybe save a couple of minions in a minion wave or whatever to help them evolve Transcendence faster, because there's not... building up stacks in the jungle is very slow. You have 3 enemies per camp, or less, and it takes a little bit longer to get there rather than the 6 enemies that show up in wave... I'm sorry, not in wave, in lane every wave. So it is a bit more difficult to build anything with stacks as a jungler, so this was a gamble that did pay off, but this could have gone south just as possibly, especially considering our very rough early start. I have to hand it to the Hunbots for having the confidence in the team to sit down and say, yeah, I think this team can recover, and I think I can get Transcendence to work really well. So kudos on that correct prediction. Hydra's Lament is just absolutely amazing on Hunbots all the time, because basically it's a second version of his passive. Bloodforge, an interesting choice, very good on junglers, primarily not for the lifesteal. That's granted, though, considering the combination of Hunbots' passive and Hydra's Lament. By the way, Hunbots' passive is just a slightly weaker version of Hydra's first passive here. This means that Hunbots could theoretically heal quite a bit of life off of that slap from the Hydra's Lament and his passive, so I can understand why Bloodforge was built here. You also get a large amount of physical power, and the Blood Shield, of course, increased movement speed. It's an excellent item on Hunbots. Heartseeker. This is interesting, but again, I do understand. At this particular point, the Hunbots was looking for penetration. I would not have been surprised if we'd seen Warrior Tabi be sold for Titan's Bane. Now, the reason why, and this might be a question that some viewers may have, why Heartseeker over, say, Chin Size, or something of that nature? Well, primarily because even though Hunbots' passive focuses around an auto attack, and Hydra's Lament focuses around an auto attack, these are auto attacks launched after an ability is launched. Hunbots' primary damage output is his abilities. So Heartseeker was primarily there for the physical penetration and the percentage of health damage that it was going to offer him, as well as the 65 physical power. Now, for me personally, as I stated before, Jade Emperor's Crown is good in the early game when enemies don't really have a whole lot of power. For instance, this physical power reduction drops Ninja Tabi's physical power completely off the board, so that basically removes one whole item of power, at least in the early to mid-game. In the late game, you can probably understand why dropping the enemy's physical power by 20 is broadly useless. In the late game, the protection bonus from Sovereignty is worth more at that point, but Jade Emperor's Crown with its 20 flat magical power and its plus 50 physical protection, plus the fact that it's fairly cheap and gives you a little bit of a more physical protection edge. The level 1 version of Jade Emperor's Crown, which I can't remember the name of off the top of my head, provides 20 physical protection in exchange for, I believe it's only 10 for the first part of Sovereignty with 75 HP. 75 HP isn't enough to write home about, so that was my really basic reasoning there. And then I was going to sell this, buy Sovereignty, evolve Sentinel's Gift, and then figure out what I wanted to do as my last item. Maybe Winged Blade. I really doubt it because they didn't have too many. They didn't have too many slows. They didn't really have enough magics to merit the use of Runic Shield. I could have gone into Ansley. That could have been potentially very useful. If Geb had... No, that still wouldn't have been great, though. Because only really Nuwa would have been affected, and even then, it's kind of silly. Yeah, I'm not really sure what I would have built at that point, because there wasn't a whole lot left that I needed. Maybe a cloak, maybe Mantle of Discord, I'm not sure. Now the question then comes down to, how did the enemy lose? We had a rough beginning, but we turned it around. The question is, how? Well, there are a couple of reasons for this. First off, I personally would have to say that overall the enemy was a little too focused on fighting and not focused enough on farming. After those first couple of initial kills, our team really kind of set themselves and looked for farming. And just based on the enemy's levels, you can see where they clearly weren't farming. And you may be confused, well, how can you tell that, Professor? Well, consider the Xbal. Let's look at Xbal. He only died twice throughout the course of the entire match. And he was solo lane. Yet he's level 18. Why? He was so focused on getting kills throughout the game that once we were past what is the technical farming phase, they were 100% fighting 100% of the time, whereas our team was trying to avoid fights, partially because of our rather rough beginning, and partially because overall our team just understands the importance of farming a little better than the enemy team did. Now, the Nuwa, if you paid attention throughout that match, the Nuwa was trying her level best to farm. And obviously the Geb as a support can only farm what other people are farming around him, so he was kind of stuck with whatever. The fact that Xbal was level 18 yet was in the solo lane indicates to me, hey, You weren't farming enough. You only died twice. You weren't off the field for that long. You just weren't farming enough. You were wandering around the fields looking for kills. Now, for Xbal, this is fairly normal behavior. Xbal is rather aggressive. His passive builds based upon how much damage he's doing to enemy gods, so I can understand that mindset in a Xbal player. So I'm not going to really be too harshly critical of this, because this technically is how you're supposed to play Xbal, but balancing that out with a little bit more farming would go a long way here. The Chiron just somehow fell apart. I'm not really sure what happened there. I think that the Chiron just couldn't... I think we just kind of teamed up on the Chiron at some point. We realized Chiron was becoming a big threat on the board about mid-game, and we all just kind of curb-stomped him a couple of times until we could get him down to where we wanted him to. But the Mulan is also... has the same issue as the Xbal, where the Mulan, despite being the jungler and playing very well with a 5-4 KDA, well, 5-4-7 KDA, she's still only level 18, and again, that comes down to simply her wanting the kills too much. Now, it's entirely possible that some of Chiron's deaths resulted from him trying very hard to kill people. I know he was somewhat aggressive. There were times where he went into a fight. I actually mentioned one time where he rammed me to go into a fight, and I was kind of surprised by this. So he was playing very aggressively. So I think that's probably mostly the Chiron's issue there, is not necessarily so much anything more than just being a little too aggressive as a hunter. But the Xbal and the Mulan were too focused on kills and not focused enough on farming and could not keep up. Borne out by their decent to good scores. They just did not farm enough. And that's what it comes down to. So, with that, what about their builds? Well, the Geb... I'm not entirely sure why Geb rushed Pestilence when Solina didn't have any kind of physical protection. And this is, I think, really the point at which was, I think technically after this is really when Geb started to fall off. Because if you look, Geb's early game was pretty good. Sentinel's Gift, Rush to the Shoes for those quick rotations. Those quick rotations were why Geb did so well in the early game. Build a Gauntlet of Thebes, perfectly fine pickup. That's not a bad choice here. Personally, if I were him and I were going to go into an aura looking at our team comp, I would have gone into Sovereignty. We have 3 physicals. Sovereignty would have made a little bit more sense in this scenario. But Gauntlet of Thebes isn't a bad choice at all. But here's the issue. The instant Geb decided to build Gauntlet of Thebes and started stacking that up, the next item should have been physical protection based upon conditions and our team comp. We had 3 physical. They had 3 physical. If the enemy team is predominantly one type of damage over another, you build to counter that damage. Geb did not follow this fundamental support rule. Gauntlet of Thebes was fine as a pickup. 50 physical protection plus an additional 10 goes into Pestilence. This should have been Contagion here. Geb needed physical protection at this point. The magic protection could have waited, well, the dedicated magic protection item could have waited until after a physical. Pardon me, I was just choking on some saliva there. This was where Geb started to fall off, because Geb was not building the protections that he needed to defend himself appropriately against our team comp. I do understand that this was built to counter Anubis, but Anubis was not what killed Geb a lot of the time. I think only about half of Geb's kills, I think 3 of them were from Anubis, maybe 4, I didn't keep 100% excellent track. But Heimdall, with the Executioner running around, and crits, yes, Geb takes less damage from crits, but still. Which actually kind of makes me wonder why Heimdall went into crits instead of, say, Chin Size, which is much more effective against Geb. Just another point that I didn't make earlier. But this is really where Geb's game started to decline. Now, was Geb's gameplay over at that point? No, there was still some room to save it. Like I said, Contagion would have been the smarter choice here. Pridwin I'm fine with, maybe built a little too early. I usually tend to build this as my 6th item because that's very low protections, but the cooldown is nice. So Pridwin wasn't a bad pickup. Like I said, personally, I would have built it a little later, especially considering that Geb needed some dedicated physical protection and did not start working on it until the end of the game. Clearly, this was most likely going to be Breastplate of Valor for the physical protections that by now our hero should have realized was what they actually needed. As for the new Wa, the Charon's Coin was a bit of a spicy pick, but this is primarily if you're building Charon's Coin as your first off item, besides whatever starting item you may be picking up, it is for the sustain, the HP 5, the MP 5, that is what you're building Charon's Coin first item for. Then the shoes, Divine Ruin was a really good pick considering Anubis, considering Chalk. That was a good pickup. Spear of Desolation, also another great pickup. And Rod of Tahuti, which works really well on Nuwa from my personal perspective. It would have been really interesting to see if Nuwa would have sold the Sands of Time. It would have been interesting to see what Nuwa would have sold her boots for, or her shoes. That would have been pretty interesting to see. But with that being said, thank you all very much for joining me on this adventure. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, or what have you, please leave them down in the comments below. I do read them, and thank you for joining me, and have a great 24 hours.